Good afternoon. Welcome to our presentation on PBIS, or Positive Behavior Intervention and Supports. Today we are going to be talking about this very impactful program implementation specifically for elementary schools and specifically for implementation and its impact at Greenland Pines Elementary School in Jacksonville, Florida. So please sit back and enjoy this instructional video. So today we are going to be talking about positive behavior interventions and supports, a proactive and positive approach to creating a supportive and safe learning environment for all students. This video is designed to help students and classroom teachers understand the PBIS framework and adopt some practical steps to implement the system successfully at any elementary school. The PBIS framework is research-based, so we're going to delve into that a little bit. So let's get started. So what exactly is PBIS? So PBIS is a research-based framework that focuses on preventing problem behaviors and promoting positive behaviors. It's designed to support all students in achieving social, emotional, and academic success. So the key components of PBIS are positive school culture. So it's not just about one particular student. It's about the entire school culture and climate as a whole. So it is very inclusive and involves every single student, every single adult, and every single stakeholder within the school community. It involves very clear expectations. It involves defining clear behavioral expectations for all areas of the school and teaching these to all students. It also involves data-driven decision-making, including using that data to identify behavior patterns, to assess interventions, and to measure student progress. Here are some examples of how we used school-wide discipline data at Greenland Pines Elementary School. You can see here that this particular data was some school-wide discipline data that was reported out in the first semester to some of our stakeholders. This particular data was reported out to our teachers, and you can see some of the infractions that were reported out for our students. So some of those high flyers, if you will. So we had some very good conversations about, what we could do for some of those particular infractions. We were able to talk about what those infractions were, where those infractions were happening, and we were even able to break it down a little bit further by grade level and talk about what we might be able to do to help particular grade levels out. In order to get PBIS up and running at a school, it does take some planning. So first things first, you have to assemble a PBIS team or committee. So form a dedicated team of administrators, teachers, support staff, and even students and parents. That team is responsible for planning, implementing, and even monitoring the PBIS efforts. You have to set behavior expectations and develop clear behavior expectations that positively state what your expectations are. So again, the goal is positive behavior and support. So instead of do not do this and do not do that, it's be respectful, be responsible, be safe. You teach behavior expectations through lesson plans, role playing. You establish some reward systems. So, for example, we had paw parties and positive rewards at Greenland Pines. And again, you monitor and collect data and review that as a team and as a school. And you do that through support and interventions and offer targeted interventions and tiered support. You also want to be mindful that you are sharing that with parents and guardians and all of your stakeholders so that they are constantly aware of your efforts at the school level. When you get your implementation up and running at your school, it is important that as a team, everybody has input on the guidelines for success, so those school-wide expectations. So at Greenland Pines, some of our expectations were as follows. You're going to walk at all times. You're going to do your cougar best at all times. Follow directions the first time that they are given. And these are things that students continuously are trained on, and it just becomes part of what they do all of the time. So much so that it is everywhere that they go. So in our guidelines for success, we know that they have to see it to believe it. So we create a matrix for them to see. So we start with this matrix, and at Greenland Pines, the cougars, they roar. So respect self and others, and own your actions, and attitude is everything, and responsible students and citizens are who we are at Greenland Pines. So we started there our first year, and then eventually we grew to where we could have a pledge every day as part of our morning announcements. So the students eventually, as part of what they did every day, they could recite this pledge every single day because they now were invested in a way so much so that they could, recite this, and they owned it so much so that this is who they had become. PBIS has to be part of every single part of your school. So we took that matrix because it's big and that's a lot for elementary school students to look at. And you kind of have to break it down into little smaller pieces for them. So we broke it down into smaller, more manageable pieces for our students and put it into those very specific areas for them. So that as we're going around the school, we could specifically point out and train them on these different areas. So as I scroll through here, you'll see the different posters for our particular areas throughout the school. So we have the hallway, the restroom, the cafeteria, the media center, assemblies and field trips, play areas such as the playground, classroom and resource, some folks call it specials or extras, the school bus, arrival and dismissal. So those are some of the areas so that students always know what the expectations are for behaviors. And this is an example of a positive referral so that students know that yes, there are consequences if behavior does go a certain way. However, we want to recognize good behavior too. And so you can get a positive referral. And this is what that would look like. So we're going to take a 2-minute break here and check out what one of our teachers has to say about implementation of PBIS at our school and what that has looked like in her particular classroom.
I'm a teacher here at Greenland Pines Elementary and also a member of the PBIS committee. Today I'm going to show you a little bit around my room, some ways that we use the PBIS school-wide plan in our classroom. So let me turn the camera around and show you. So here's my front board, and on this board right here I have the Roar Pledge, which goes through all the parts of our roar, and we also do this every morning on the morning announcements. Our AP puts this exact pledge right up on the screen for kids, but I also have it posted in here. And at this point in the year, the kids already know it by heart from saying it every day. But I really like how they start the day by saying it, because it just kind of helps set the tone for the day and remind them of all of our expectations. So then this piece of our matrix where we have the classroom and resource expectations for our ROAR pledge, I have this posted at the front of the classroom, and I use it at the beginning of my lesson to really go over some examples of how I expect the students to act. And then also at this point in the year especially, the kids have really taken ownership over this piece, and so they're giving me examples of how they show respect to self and others, how they're going to own their actions that day, how they have a great attitude, and how they're responsible citizens. I really like having this piece posted at the front so we can go over it every single day while we're going over like what we're learning for the day and our objective. It just really flows into the beginning of my lesson. And then the next thing I have on this board is how many positive paws we have, which this is dry erase, so we just, erase it and update it whenever. And then I keep the paws down here right underneath so we can keep track. And I like to write where we earned our paws. So you can see art, PE, lunch, hallway, media, and so on. I think it really helps to discuss like where we're earning those paws so we can improve on areas where we're not earning it very often and have some conversations as a class. That's also the reason I really like keeping my paws inside the classroom, because it provides more time for us to have some discussion about where we're earning the pause and how we could do better to earn the pause. But I do also have a count that's hanging outside the door. Okay, and now finally, this is where my students line up, obviously, to leave the classroom. And so over here on my closet door, I have the full matrix for our PBIS plan, where depending on where we're going, we'll go ahead and go over what's expected of students for each of these areas. And so I really like having this by the door. I allow students to lead this conversation with the rest of the class to talk about examples and expectations for behavior in each of the areas that we're headed. These are also hanging all over the school, so it's really easy to stop and just kind of point out something if I feel like I need to with my class. But yeah, this is how I integrate our school-wide PBIS plan into my classroom.
All right. So as you can see, PBIS can be really impactful. So it can lead to a more positive and productive learning environment for all students. So as you heard our teachers say there, the students really do get to a place where they are leading the discussions. They are the ones that are facilitating the conversations around the behaviors. And that's really what we want students to be able to do, especially as they move up in elementary school. We want them to be pioneers of their own learning, and we want them to take control of their own behaviors as they start to learn and grow, as they make their way out of elementary school and up through middle and high school. We're hoping that they become successful citizens, and that's all we really, really want for them. So it is important to remember to involve all stakeholders to establish clear behavior expectations. We do want student voice, parent voice, community voice as we are designing these behavior expectations throughout this process. If you are just getting started, and also please consider consulting if you have a student code of conduct. Consult that as well, because you want to be mindful of what your student code of conduct might say as well. And please, please, please remember to celebrate student successes at all costs. All right, I hope you find this presentation very useful. I hope that you can use it to not only implement PBIS at your school, but use it as a stepping stone to spread the word and get things up and running, and use it even as instructional practices and getting things going. It really is research based and can just really turn things around when we're talking about behavior and disciplinary practices at a school. Thank you very much for having me. This is Amber Feltz with Liberty University. Thank you very much.